Got it. You're being live streamed. Setting up, redirecting, and lights, camera, action. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at, right? It's a Estango. Welcome everyone to Native Wellness Institute Power Hour. And today we're going to be talking about Indigenous Peoples Day. And what a beautiful day it is to be here to spend this time with these three people here. When I think Indigenous, these are three of the people I think of. When I think of pride, three of the people I think of when I think of strength. And Jean right there says peace, all those things. And we're going to have some great discussions. Glad you could be here to join us. And if you have any questions, any comments, please put in there in the comment session, and we'll do our best to get to them. But welcome. My name is Robert Johnston. I'm a Muskogean Tabalicha, and I just excited to spend this time here with you. And here from, where am I? Mesa, Arizona. It's been one of those kind of weeks, which is actually the traditional homelands of the Akimel Alton. So thankful to them, and just excited, man, just excited to see my three friends here to have a discussion. And so with that, I'm gonna pass it on so we can all give our introductions, and I'll pass it on starting with Theta.
Could I say a little prayer first?
Awesome.
And I'd be honored. Thank you, Robert, because I think we're all stepping on the Indigenous path. And in the old days, they would just bring up elders and let them pray, and then kind of scoot them to the side. So I'll just I'm just a practicing speaker. So Hayo Stapatapi, Hayo Ninna, Hayo Napi Natusi, Hayo Akita Biwa, Hayo Sweetapi, Water Spirit, Hayo Ninna, Hayo Na Suwa. It's a word I'm learning, so I guess I'm gonna learn it more. But Spomukana Ixkanax Horn Society, Spomukana Nanamska, Spomukana Moto Keeks, Spomukana Kanax Stimita, Spomukana Kami Pois Munix, Spomukana Nanamska, Hiostapatapi. We just ask you to come with all of our Indigenous around the globe. We send out special prayers to our NWI family in Australia. Hiostapatapi. Kia ora. We send out special prayers to our NWI family in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Hiostapatapi. We send all the special prayers to Canada, across the provinces. We send special prayers to the south. We ask that you give us greater understanding about the prophecies between the eagle and the condor. We ask that you give us the strength around the prophecies of Turtle Island. We ask that you help us with all of the canoe and waka medicine, all of the salmon medicine, all of the killer whale medicine, and of course, raven, Hiostapatapi, all of the clans from Black Panther clan all the way up to Greasy Mouth at Upsalaga, Crow, all those that call themselves clans. We ask you that you give a blessing to all of the societies, Mosquito Society, Kit Fox Society, all of these groups in our indigenous world. We ask you to pity us, to help us. And we just ask that you look into the next 7, 8, 9, 10 generations, that all of our descendants remember their ancestors. We ask that we remember our water, that we remember our mountains, that we remember our land. And we just ask you, we come before you in this, we're doing our best just to come before you in this hour. Please help us to say the words, to sing the songs. And if we have to get up and dance, help us, Creator. We're just asking you to be with us today, to let us, we know that you're always in our heart. And we know when we have children, the heart gets out of our body and goes walking around. So bless all of those we love. Bless all of those in the future that we love unconditionally. We're before you today in this indigenous world. And thank you, President Biden, for declaring it Indigenous Peoples Day. So we just really appreciate this safe space for this next hour. Anya, Onion, done. And you want me to do introductions? because
Yeah.
I don't know. Because
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who in the hell I am. No, today. Like some days you can just rattle it off like, some Aimster or something. And then some days, you say, God, who am I? And today, Nistu Nidaniko, I carry a Blackfoot Indian named Mogoyo Sequoia for 4 years. And I think I'm transforming into that name. And so that's on some days it's real clear. And then on other days, it's like still being determined like a 4-year-old. I'm on the Siksikatepi, the Blackfoot Confederacy territory. I live here, been here 27 years all year round. And I just want to, part of my introduction, you're wondering why I'm so happy. I just got out of quarantine with the doctor's approval yesterday and our public health nurses. And I was COVID-19 positive, but I was asymptomatic with no symptoms. And so I've just it reminded me of, when I used to fast, when you don't have food or water, but I was just staying to myself. And during that fast, I was just in gratitude. So part of who I am today is just very grateful to be with my team and our team, on Native Wellness Institute. And it's kind of cool because, I'll be 66 years old pretty soon. And I was just being grateful for that. And I did something a little unusual today. I jogged for a half hour. And I, like an old lady Indian, but I jogged, and part of me would stop, and I go, no, I got to try to jog, because when I used to live in California, everybody there used to jog to stay in shape. I'd get skinny or whatever. I'll never get skinny, but that's part of who I am. So I'll just stop there and I'll it over to Jean.
Ganachish. It's good to see you all everybody, and those who are out there who are signed on and taking this time today. Good to see you, Thea. I'm glad that you got that bill of health. Many prayers to you, many prayers to many of our people out there. And again, thank you for your prayers for everyone, and because so many of our people are still struggling, and with their health and their wellness as well. Kaya ya hak to sok tak den tana kat ka keta ka tu kandu I hotsiti ushkitan yari akat ishik tihini tu sa klinkit away where ya slagi Filipino akat konachish. So my name is Gene Tagaban. My Tlingit name is Gayao. I'm of the Duck Dane Ton clan, Raven Freshwater Sockeye clan from Hoona, Alaska, child of a Wishkitan Eagle Shark clan from Maquan in Juneau, Alaska. That's on my Tlingit side. My Cherokee side, my mother's full-blood Cherokee, Slagi, and her Cherokee name is Weech. And before the Trail of Tears, she traced our lineage back to a place they now call Georgia and Tennessee. And my mama, she grew up in Oklahoma, over in Jay. She was born in Jay, and she was raised in Xena. I'm of the Wolf clan on my Cherokee side, and even my last name Tagaban, in the Philippines is pronounced Tagaban. And my grandfather comes from Batak. My great grandfather comes from El Locos Norte. But that's a little bit of who I am. I am talking to you. My feet here are on the territories of the Coast Salish people, on the land of the Puyallup people, in the shadow of Mount Tahoma here in the Pacific Northwest. And it's starting to chill out a little bit. We got a little bit of overcast clouds out. It's a really nice fall day. The leaves are starting to turn their colors and starting to fall onto the ground and cover the earth. And so it's really good to be here. And again, with our team here, family, friends, and relatives out there too. Gonachish. And so I'm going to zoom it over there to Lavina.
Thank you, Jean. Ahistakla, inta isquis chastenma, intas paus talichas. Hello, my friends. Today is a good day. My heart is happy to be here with all of you. We've been doing these power hours for many, 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 many days, many moons. And so I like when we get to do our power hour all together. My English name is Lavina Louie. I am here at my sister Debbie's house in Worley, Idaho. And we are making Indian medicines today. And so I told my sister, I said, hey, I got power hour today. I said, part of my little segment is going to be just showing some of the Indian medicines, as Indigenous people, as, Insokchin, Nahamchin, Sistichuamch, we have to go back to finding out about our medicines and how our traditional medicines can help us. And it's been awesome learning. And so I'm really excited about today's power hour. And, we're all going to share a little bit about Indigenous Peoples Day. I seen so many beautiful posts yesterday of Deb Holland, running the Boston Marathon in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day. And just, this was like, the internet was just full of positive Indigenous people, and we have some beautiful Indigenous people on this power hour today, and we're just gonna have a conversation with you guys. So welcome everybody to our power hour on Indigenous Peoples Day. Lim Lemch.
Awesome, everyone. Man, it is good. And I was reading some of the comments and some good comments coming in. One of them is, hey, I'm proud to be Indigenous today. And, that's kind of what we're talking about today, is that every day is an opportunity to be proud of who you are. And, but, let's just go around and share a little bit about our thoughts, a little bit about what we, just that experience and what we wanted to share. This is basically what it is. It's our sharing circle opportunity. And so I know, Lavina, did you want to start since you had
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
I'll get us started here. So I'm gonna just quickly walk over here to our kitchen and let me flip the camera real quick. This is Debbie. Say hi. This is my sister. And Debbie's gonna right now tell them what you're doing, sis.
Well, okay, so I'm a rookie, but we're going to make some elderberry rosehip cough syrup. So Lavina brought her elderberries up that she collected. We went and picked them on the Spokane Res, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The other day, so we're smashing them up, and then we'll turn the heat up. So my recipe, I like to put elderberry, rosehip, wild ginger.
And it smells really good. I hopefully you guys could smell that.
And then I like to reuse our husk, so I'll put a little bit of that for the throat.
And some people on some tribes call that bear root, I believe.
And then over here, I'm experimenting. So I'm trying to come up with a natural dark spot corrector. So Lavina's my guinea pig. So
all right, everybody see all my dark spots? My sister's gonna get rid of them with natural medicine. Natural Indian medicine.
So what I have in here are rose hip, dried rose hip powder, rose hip seeds. And if you come over here, I've added dried snowberry because this is a good lotion for your skin when it's fresh. And
those are elderberries.
And a little bit of aloe vera. I just plucked off and grated in there. So we'll see. You'll have to check back in a couple months.
Yeah, we'll do another power hour. But I just, you know, like for me, like if you guys can like see, like, I just think part of, you know, finding and going back to our roots and, you know, these are rose hips and we have smukashin, which is sunflower. We have mullein. We have yarrow. This one is yarrow. But look at all the Oregon grape. Look at all the medicines that we've been collecting. That's mint.
Red willow.
Dandelion. Horsehair. Mullein leaves.
St. John's wort.
Kinnicknick.
Cherry.
Chokecherry. Man, we got some.
Devil's rod.
Yep, devil's rod. And then we even have concoctions that we've made that we put sometimes we put 100 proof, you know, alcohol to get the medicines out. And so sis is like look at all these jars, man. We're going to town on Indian medicine. But you know, that's about being indigenous, man. We got to get back to these ways. We got to figure out, you know, how to heal ourselves. I just sent one of our friends some honey and smukashin sunflower, you know, that we made with the Spokane tribe. And so it's just, you know, these are our ways. Where's the dun syrup? Oh, and we have cough syrup too. Like this is COVID honey and husk, right? That we boil. And then check this out. Like, so right in our fridge, we have, Debbie made these ones. This is elderberry cough syrup. And then we have another one that's husk cough syrup with elderberry. So man, we're like going to town over here in Idaho with all of our medicines, and it's just been really awesome.
Husk for testosterone for my husband.
Hey. Shoot, everybody be knocking our doors down for that stuff. So that's just you know, that's what we've been doing, and it's been really awesome to learn about our traditional medicines. And you know, that's indigenous, right? That's being indigenous. That's like more power to us to learn these things. So,
and we want to thank mom and our auntie and the teachers.
Yeah, and there are very few of our people who know these ways, but you know, we've been working with our mom and Dr. Melody Wynn from the Spokane tribe, and from the Kalispel tribe, it's Betty Joe and Psalms. And so, yeah, so we're just learning. We're just rookies at this, but we're doing the best we can. So, Leam Lambs. Who wants to go next?
Awesome, I'll go next.
Okay.
And I just like looking at your house and all the stuff that's on the table, that big old table, and you know, jars and all kinds of stuff there. And that's awesome. Reminds me of my aunties and my grandma's house back in the day, you know, and stuff. And so And when I think about that too, and just see that, it just takes me back to, and this day of Indigenous Peoples Day. Um, it's, I just want to encourage a lot of people too. It's like as part of what Lavina was talking about, to re-indigenize ourselves, because we've had so many things taken away from us, but we're still here. And even though they wanted to assimilate us, eliminate us, genocide us and everything, here we are. We're still here, Indigenous people. And so I just, want to encourage others too, is to take small steps throughout the rest of the year. On Indigenous Peoples Day, which was Monday, what can we do now? Those small steps that we could just practice throughout the year. Make things a ritual throughout the year. And so that when you come up again, coming next year, Indigenous Peoples Day, you'll know more, you'll learn more about who you are. Have you ever had this yearning that you're just sitting around it, there's like just a yearning or a longing or loneliness, or there's something that you want to eat but you don't know what it is, or and those things like that. It's like a little kid. My grandma would always say, when those little kids come up there and they see that they're just kind of whining around and stuff like that, and they go, "What's wrong? I'm hungry." He said, "What do you want? Here, want this cookie?" No. And what they're really doing is yearning for their Indian food, yearning for this. So there's a deep yearning that's inside of you, wanting to know who you are as an Indigenous human being. And I know that because in my family too, because our family is the result of boarding schools. My grandma went to boarding school, my mother went to boarding school, and many of my people, and they survived, went through all that. And so in my own personal family, there's a lot of traditions and culture was lost. And I even saw a cousin who was on here who's watching too. But just to find out about who are you as a human being, as an Indigenous person of the land, because our ancestors dreamt us into existence. They fought for us into existence. They walked us into existence. They celebrated and had ceremony for us so that we can exist. And here we are. And for myself personally, I'm still learning. And part of my re-indigenization is just getting outside. Sure, I love to dance, I love to sing my songs, and practice these medicines and these things. But part of my indigenization for myself is taking my shoes off and getting my feet into the soil, feeling the water, feeling the rain, feeling the wind, the sunrises and the sunsets. And these are some of the things that I do, because those are the same things my ancestors experienced. See, those things in nature will never, ever change. And that's helping me connect with myself and my ancestors, because one day I'm going to be that ancestor. One day. And so who am I? And how do I re-indigenize myself? I just got to throw out real big appreciation to my wife, who's Ani and Lakota, and she's Northern Italian too. And I say that other part of who she is, Northern Italian, because that's who she is as a whole person. But I toss out my wife because she's doing a lot of research on her family. Now we have these old pictures of her great-great-grandfather up on her wall. Old pictures of all these black and white pictures of these relatives up on the wall, as if they're watching us. We got this big one of her grandfather. I think she put it right there where it's watching my chair where I sit. So I think she purposely put it there so that it keeps an eye on me, But I love that she's bringing that spirit into the house of ancestors, into the house of Indigenous recognition of who she is, and I love that. I really love that. And so those little things, turn into big things. And so I just want to encourage you. What are you doing out there? What can you do for yourself to put you on that path? Maybe it's the medicines, maybe it's doing research, taking pictures of your lineage or your family, or like I'm getting outside, getting on the earth, the dirt time and stuff like that. Sure, it's great to learn songs and dances and those things. I encourage you to go to the powwows and the ceremonies and do those and be part of the collective healing and the collective celebration and ceremony that we do as a people. But when you're by yourself, on your own, behind closed doors, whatever it is, what is it that you can do? Or just get up in the morning and say a prayer, celebrate your water, ceremony of water, food, breath, presence, and so much of that is how I see, like, Indigenous Peoples Day. Yeah, sure, we have this one day, but it's like it's a celebration of what we have and what we're going to become even more. A celebration of what we have and then what we're going to become of even more into the futures, those future generations. And so yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of my thoughts. I mean, there's so much more that I can't even put in words. More of it's a feeling. It's a feeling that I have inside, and I just walk down the road and stuff like that, and people, they're looking at me. Like this one time, my wife, she goes, "What are you going to do today?" I was in Indiana at the time, Indianapolis, and she goes, "What are you going to do today?" And I told her, "I'm going to go outside and I'm going to I'm going to watch people watch me." Everyone's white there. Everyone's white, and this white community and stuff like that. So I just walked out with my presence, and my ancestors watched with me. I said, "I'm just going to go out there and watch everyone watch me." And so I do that so often too. And the other day, my wife and I, we went to Ruby and I, we went to a breakfast at a restaurant. And as we walked in, it was a bunch of old white people, man. We're like, and all the eyes turned right on us. We're like, yeah, we're Indigenous. Looking around like everybody else. Sat down in our chair, and it was funny. I wish I could say the things that my wife was saying. She can get like this that warrior comes out of her, man. Anyways, that's a few things, with Indigenous. I'm going to pass over to Ruby. I'm thinking of Ruby. I'm going to pass over to Theta right now.
Hey, thanks, Gene. And thank Ruby. I hope we get to see her and hug you. But that you can always tell they're Indigenous by how their house looks. And it's not like, like sometimes you see people and you say, and I not to judge anybody, but it's a white person by what's in the background. So I would just, it's just a time to think about your nest, where you do live, even if you do live in a trailer, or you live in a lodge or a teepee, or you live in a 3-story mansion or whatever, just Indigenous. And then I think about that because you may not know someone, but when you're Indigenous, when you meet other Indigenous, it's safe. It's never competitive. It's like a safe space. So like when you go into homes, and it's even okay if they have, their curtains are blankets. And it's okay if you look on the wall, and when you see on the wall, you'll see who they unconditionally love. And so that what, Ruby putting her ancestors, I'm not going to grab it now, but, I was trying to think, I think I was about 14 years old, and it was when we lived off the reservation, and I really missed my grandmas. And I actually wanted to run away from my parents and run back to the reservation because they took me on relocation. And I told them I didn't want to be white. So I kept trying to run away. But so what my mom did is, and this really helped with my Indigenous soul, is I have like a 4 by 3 feet picture of my grandma Atstanikiwa, which means kills close, and Agnes Iron Pipe, and Awalski, Irene, Polak Bolshu. And it's a picture, and it's a really cool picture because my grandma Agnes had just gotten her new false teeth. And she was so excited. She came over to my other grandma, and they're sitting on the bed because, there wasn't a lot of furniture. So they're both sitting on the bed, and they're having a cup of coffee and just really enjoying each other. And she's, I could just imagine the indigenous conversation, like, hey, I got my false teeth now, because it's also indigenous. We have a lot of indigenous who they don't get the false teeth. They just keep talking to you and smiling, and it's all gum. I mean, they're indigenous, and it works out, but when we were coming on, I was saying prayers this morning, and I have to think about the equinox and the solstice, and somehow the older I get, the flow of the equinox and the solstice, and then all indigenous people love Halloween. They're having their little Zooms, and everyone's all dressed up as a white person. No. They're dressed up as something else, and it just. So I was thinking about how I wanted to, I guess, share a story, because indigenous are exploring indigenous, and I'm very, I know nothing about Peru. When I went, I learned many things, but one of the things when we were going up from like Cusco, which means the belly button, and then there's like Ali Tatambo, which is like a llama, and then you go up to Machu Picchu, and we had these indigenous tour guides that could speak Quechua, their like the Inca language, and Spanish and English. And when we got up to Peru, because I'd never been there, and I was just enthralled because you could feel the indigenous energy. And so that's like it's indigenous, like when you walk into that home and you see the veterans and you see other houses. And when we went there, once that tour guide, and he was just for us, and there was just a handful of us. Once he knew we were indigenous, we got a different tour. And one of the things that and it has to do with learning, those steps, learning how your ceremonies are around the equinox and how they're around the solstice, but how learning your prophecies. And so one of the things that tour guide was explaining to us is that every 26,000 years is the cycle of the Mayans. And so I was enthralled because, like ours is oral tradition. We do winter count, we draw on hides and stuff. But he said all that was happening, and this was 2012, and I had gone there because, I wanted to symbolically be in a place, where they, on December 21st, 2012. And so some of his teaching was that in that 26,000 years, the Mayans have mapped it. And now we're just going into a new cycle. And I was thinking about this pandemic, especially, with here, we've lost 50 people, which is a smaller number because we're a bigger tribe. But I was just thinking about all the lessons learned. And so he said, the new cycle is volatile. And I remember, because when also, some indigenous people, you're all watching Hulu, right? You're watching the Res Dogs. And is that real? But when an indigenous person uses a big white word like volatile, you kind of look at them like, so that means they went to college. So you can tell by the words they use. But he said it's volatile, and especially around this new 26,000 years, because now we're going to go, as we go into 2022, it's only been 10 years that we're in this new cycle. And he said around those times, it's volatile. And this, I just, so I said, what do you mean? And he goes, well, he said, the earth, the earth is shifting. He said, we might have, tsunamis, we might have, snow coming down, we might have pandemics. And he did use the word pandemics because there's a shifting. And so I had thought about that. So I think part of Indigenous, and I just, to all of you out there, start where you are. Just start in, because one of my little relatives is always asking about holidays, and because some of our here on the Blackfoot Confederacy, they don't celebrate like the European holidays. And so he was saying, does that mean the more money you spend on Christmas, the less Indigenous you are? It's like a question. And I go, well, yeah, Christmas is a cool holiday, but some people don't celebrate that holiday, and so so those of you listening today, rethink. And I think it's week 82, I think, of Native Wellness Power Hour. We've had like 82 weeks to transform. And so one of the before I shift it to Robert, I've been working with a group down in Wyoming. They're Shoshone, Eastern Shoshone, and they we were together just a couple months ago, and it was just cute because they're just Indigenous. They're not highfalutin. It's not fancy tech. They have this little book, and it's called Ceremony Teaches Self-Regulation. And Dolores Bigfoot helped with it, and she's just a great Indigenous researcher. And that's the other thing. One of the things that you can do is start to read Indigenous. And it's not, we love you non-Indigenous, but write about your own ancestors. And what we need to read, we need to listen to podcasts, we need to open our ears, we need to read all of those teachings, listen to the Indigenous, and then ask yourself, would I rather learn this, or do I just want to learn what the Europeans have given me? Because it's cool too if you just want to be European. That's a decision that you have to make. That's really cool. And so, but this word self-regulation, and my last kind of statement, and I'll shift it over to you, Robert, is part of Indigenous is that you know these ceremonies, you learn more of the language. In the language, there's a softness, there's a kindness, and there's a gentleness around self-regulation. And I was thinking about that because, like, all my ancestors, right? My ancestors and the one that left and the ones that were checking on me this last week that are 70-ish, they don't get pushed out of shape. They don't have big anxiety things. They're just like cool. They're like, they're survivalists, or they thrive in whatever they have. Whatever they have, if they make hamburger gravy over some bannock bread, our boiling meat, or they survive. And so the self-regulation, is, I think, the more you find your Indigenous spirit, the more you will find ways of self-regulating, so that you're calm inside, and that it isn't you're not manic. So I had some thoughts about that. So I'll share that. And so what do you think, Robert? I'll switch it over to you.
Awesome. Rita, just listening to all your thoughts. I mean, it just puts everything in perspective of what we're celebrating. We're celebrating our opportunities to be ourselves, and the fundamental parts of our families and our communities, and things that we might neglect some at times. I know I do at times, and just need to feel that reconnection. So what I wanted to share was just more of an experience, of that happened. And so this weekend got a lot, not only through messages, but just knowing that a lot of people were struggling out there with COVID and then getting the news about you, Theta, and glad that you're healthy and you're out of quarantine, and that was awesome. And, still those prayers going out for those who are still dealing with that. And in the old ways, did a lot of my prayers out there through runs, through going out to the water. I went out, there's the place that I go to do my letting go. And I thought about it, and I was, we just finished a basketball game. And I saw some of my players out there like, look, I can't run. They can run. I'm going to ask them to help me out with this. I need their legs and their backs and their knees. So I told them what I was going to do, and they looked at me like, huh? Because it involved waking up at 5:30 in the morning, meeting me over there at the river, and starting the prayer run there. So they agreed, and they were all there before sunrise. And as it got to that place, the Verde River, and it's on the called the native side, which is the Salt River people, the Anakama Autumn side. Then you got the white side. Well, we're on the white side because they didn't get permission to be on the Anakama Autumn side. But that's great. I mean, that's great that you had to get their permission to be over there, right? And this is just a last thought of. So we went out there and I took the medicines out there, and we met there, and there was tents around because it was near a recreation site. And the boys were looking around like, oh, people camped out here? And I said, yep. What do they do? I said, they probably fish. But we went down there by the river, and I went to the same place where I go to do my letting go. And when I usually out there, I'm standing out there on the rocks, and, you got these little trickles of streams. It's a great place to put down the letting go medicine and then let it go. But now it's this raging river. It's all covered. Last year at this time, you could stand out there. Now you can't. And which is prayers being answered. When you live in the desert means we're getting good rain, good rain this year. And so we did our prayers, and we talked about the things we're doing. We introduced the medicine and what the medicine represents and who we're we praying for. And, they're asked to pray for themselves. They're asked to pray for their families. They're asked to pray for the elders. They're asked to pray for the ancestors, for the women. And this special medicine I brought, which is normally I don't have that around, and you don't use it too much here in Arizona, but it's the sweet pine, the Theta that you and your mother sent to me. That's for all of our people who are dealing with COVID-19. So we put it in this medicine bundle, and then we got ready, and they jumped in, to start it off, that cleansing into the waters. And they didn't complain. That water was freezing, especially at 5:30 a.m. or by then it was 6. No complaints. They did it. Come up. They were ready. And they took off and started running. And then there's me doing my war cries, probably waking people up that are trying to get sleep in their tents. And one of the boys like, oh, you think people are gonna look at us weird because you're yelling? And I was like, no, this is ours. This is our land. This was done before they were here. This is who we are. And but we set out, and they started run down the road. And one more thing I want to add too is that when we were sitting there in that circle right before they jumped in, we had a witness to what we were doing. And that witness was perched up on the cliff up there, just watching that whole time. And it was an eagle, just witnessing what we were doing and being there. And what I think is acknowledging that connection. And then the boys took off. And at times, it was a 4-mile trek that they did. And at times there was one that would pull off. And I gave him a gourd, and I said, sing a song. And so I don't know any. Yeah, sing a song. I don't know any songs. Well, sing whatever song comes to you. I don't know any songs. Said, you don't hear what I'm saying. Sing what song comes to you. And they, just hum. Hum. And and turn into this beautiful song. Beautiful song. Humming, but it was beautiful. And afterward, man, that was a good song. I just made it up. That's it, but you did it. It came from you. It's not made up. It comes from you. It's who you are. That's your song. And then we passed on the next boy, same thing, you know. And then they finally got there, and we took them, opened up the bundle, and we took the medicine out and put it in a smaller bundle so they each could keep it. And as they ran too, that, you know, we told them the things that they ran for, that each step is a prayer for healing. You know, that you're running for those who can't run, you're running for those who can't do those things, and those who are sick, or those who have passed, or those who just can't experience what that is, like people with bad knees like me. And then when we got there, we had a little special talk about the medicine of women and how sacred that is to all of us, and have that understanding of you know, as young men, the medicine that they carry as well. And that part of that is that part of their roles as men is to protect the medicine of the women. And just as they were protectors of these bundles, right, that they handle with care, that they give prayerful thoughts when they're around it. And then they went out for the final dip to let go of what they carried and what they wanted to let go of. And they got stuck. It was that area that of the river, it was real muddy, and they were getting stuck. So they were having to help each other, you know, and they were literally pulling each other out of the mud. You know, it was real cool to see. It was real cool to see of how they adapted, how they handled that. And it was a real great experience. And if anything, I mean, if you could think of a lot of good things about it, if anything, you know, for a lot of them, they said, I'd never done anything like this. Or even when I describe it, no, I don't know what that is. Afterward, you'd hear comments like, I miss doing stuff like that. Or I remember doing something like that. And you just hear little comments come up like, I remember, you know, I used to dance. And these are thoughts that they didn't, before. It's like, okay, I'd never done this stuff before, but now it was coming out. You know, that connection was there. It opened up. And I don't have a name for that ceremony that they did, because to me, the experience is more important than the name. It's just kind of like taking in all the teachings that I've gotten from so many people, including Charlie, you know, including all of you, including other elders that I've been there. But, you know, something that Thosh, our colleague Thosh, talks about is that, you know, that our ceremonies, our prayer ceremonies had a purpose, and it was to give those prayers out to the Creator. Well, we created those ceremonies for that purpose. And if we've come to a point where we stop creating ceremonies, that either means all of our prayers have been answered, or we don't think that prayers work, right? And so to me, that day, prayers were answered, because, you know, we think of our next generation, and we pray for that. You know, we pray for our next generation to be smarter. We pray for our next generation to be braver, to have more courage. And I saw these young men step up and show some courage that day. I saw some young men step up and try something new, and that's amazing. And at that point, I was like, I should have got more of them out here. But if anything, 3 hours without their faces planted into a screen. If they, you know, for a 60-year-old or 70-year-old, that's a big deal. So it was really awesome. It was really amazing. And for all of you watching, if there's anything that what I was teaching the boys too, and I hope that you understand this, is that you don't know who they are all the time, but there are people out there who are always praying for you, and they're praying for you in every circumstance that you are. And just always be open to that. Always have that open hand and open heart to understand that people are praying for you, whether you know it or not. But Mado, thank you for allowing me to share that experience with you. So just in our short time here, we got about 9 minutes. Any other comments, messages, or just things you want to share with our friends here?
I really like what you just shared, Theta and Lavina, and all those things, is that, and especially with that experience there, Robert, about how, it's something came up for you. There's a feeling, there's a vibration, there's energy around it. Something came up for you, and you acted on it, and you did it because and so many times it's like we have these feelings and things, and then we don't do it because we said, I don't want to look foolish, or I don't want to do it, or I'm not worthy, or I can't, or I don't know how, but you went out and you acted on it. You went out and did it. Even if you didn't even have a name for it, and willing to make mistakes. Lavina's up there with her sister, they're newcomers. They're like just doing it. There's like, oh, what the heck? We're just going to go for it here, and learn. And, and so that's to act on those things too. Again, our body and our system is talking to us. We're getting whispers from our ancestors. They're talking to us. And it's like to listen to those,
Mm-hmm.
and just to take that one little step. Maybe it's just to go outside and just to offer some tobacco or whatever. Oh, I don't want to see anyone else to see me. They might ask me, what are you doing there? Or you might think that you're looking foolish or whatever it is, but it's like, I want to encourage you to go out and do it anyways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Gene, like what you were saying, and Robert, thank you, because one of to be indigenous is to gracefully grow into yourself as you get older. And part of that gracefulness is respecting your elders and checking on your elders. So when you sent that video, and you were saying what the boys were doing, I just cried. I just had to cry. Because I wasn't having symptoms, but I was in quarantine, and the uplift of seeing them sing and what you said, part of Indigenous is like, when we get off here, call every darn elder and check on them. Mm. And part of Indigenous is that you cherish, you just cherish every elder. You check on them, you take care of them, and make them laugh. Laugh about things. Bring the humor in, and that is part of being Indigenous. Don't practice ageism. Ageism is a concept. It's part of the isms, the racism, the sexism, that Europeans brought, that when you think someone's old, you put them away in storage somewhere. So I would say, so when we get off, and I guess I'm requesting, because they always say, what do you need? I need you to check on all the elders, call them up. And, and sometimes what I learned in this fast or this quarantine is I decided to have conversations with people instead of watch Netflix. and then I felt more Indigenous, because I like Netflix, but I felt more Indigenous. So I checked on all my friends from college. I checked on Lisa Martin. I checked on Holly, and then all my elders in Alberta. They would text me, or one of my elders called every day. He was the first one, and he just, how are you? And you know, because he said, you know, we never had doubt. We were confident in our ways. And he said, how's your faith? And then I had to say, how is my faith? And I think when you're Indigenous, you like Jean said, you take more steps and your faith just gets bigger and bigger. And you really do trust Estebat to be God, or you really do trust God. And even, you know, if I would have died, you know, at one point I thought, well, if I'm going to die, I had a pretty good life, and I just started being grateful for all the things that I've had so far in case I died, but I'm not going to die. I think I'm going to be here till about 90. So you have to put up with. So anyway, that's some of my thoughts, Robert. Lavina, what you guys doing? Lavina, talk to us.
She's concentrating over there. Concentrating.
All right, so we got the elderberry all cooked, and we're straining it now to strain all the juice out, and then that's how we make the elderberry syrup.
Okay, put that one in that bowl over there. Here,
this one. Yeah. So that's what we're doing, real quick. Here, you guys can
go ahead and.
I know I want to go.
Hey, while we're here, I came downstairs. I was going to show you my Ruby's pictures that she put up.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
So what?
Their great grandfather, and so yeah.
Debbie, talk to us. Were you talking?
Strain the elderberry. You put honey in it. So we're putting the honey into the elderberry, locally. And then you stir it. Like if you can get honey from your own area, it works better because it's you know the bees from your place. So then you mix it in here, and then you pour it into the mason jar, and that's your elderberry syrup.
Yum.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Auction for today.
Hey, I gotta show you something. Part of my indigenousness too is I got myself a new hat.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Part of my indigenous celebration, I got myself a new hat.
That is awesome, Gene.
Gene, that is you. But you do kind of look like, no.
It's actually I got it online. It's somebody was getting rid of it and stuff, but it's a Billy Jack hat.
I was gonna say you look like Billy Jack, but I don't want to say. I don't want to be judgmental.
I saw it. I was going, I got to get that hat. And I told Ruby, I said, we got to go get this hat. She's going, what?
That's your new bio pic. Your bio photo. Your headshot.
Well, wear that one so that you could go watch them staring at you.
Yeah. Put a big feather in it.
Yeah.
Put some hand.
They when the boys were running, they would say like there was a lot of people who would watch us at times, and one car pulled over and just watching us, a lot of people honking. And I said, yeah, I think people, because they know who you are, they see you, they show you that appreciation. And I thought of what you say, Gene, that about if they see Native doing Native stuff, like, oh, that's kind of cool. But if it was white people doing it, like, that guy's crazy. Well, this has been awesome. Great catching up. Great to see what everyone's up to and some good stories here. And Lavina, what's coming up for Native Wellness Institute? Anything special?
Yes, we have 2 trainings coming up. Those trainings are being an ally in Indian country. That one starts on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, and you can register at www.nativewellness.com. And the second training is help me out, guys.
Healthy relationships.
Oh yeah, healthy relationships. I was like, oh, I messed up my commercial. Dang it. I had it. Thought I had it. But healthy relationships. So anybody out there who's like tired of the same old, come to our workshop on healthy relationships, and we'll teach you some new, well, I don't know if we'll teach you new snagging ways, but we might teach you some healthy relationships, how to communicate, how to talk to each other and not yell and scream around. Jokes.
But Lavina, part of it is healthy sexuality. And part of this transformation, these last 82 weeks, you guys have all reconsidered, your sexual being. So come join us next week.
Yeah, now Theta just gave you a carrot to say, ooh, we're gonna talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Hey. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today.
Awesome.
Hello, Yukoki. Take care, everyone.
Here's the final.
Oh,
that's this one for my face. So I'll send a picture later.
Thank you, Deb. Pretty good. That's awesome.
Send a before and after photo, Lavina.
Yeah, I will, because she already made me take the pictures and sent them to her. Okay. So I'll do that.
Instead of Revlon, it's Reslon.
Oh yeah, that could be the name of her thing, Reslon. I love it, dude. You're awesome. All right, coming soon, Reslon for natives who have dark spots.
I know.
Who had one too many kids. Eh?
Jeez.
All right, love you guys.
Love you. Kitakito Matsuno, everyone. Love you.
Goodbye, everyone. Much love, much prayers.